All right, so starting the quadruped position, I'm gonna lift our right leg, our right knee up off the ground just a little bit. And we're working on straight back hip extension here. I'm gonna show you not how to do it right there. So you will get a lot of movement in the spine and the low back. We wanna keep the abs tight. And so all the movement comes from the hip, and you'll see I'm pretty limited. A lot of people are gonna be pretty limited, so you can't get that leg up as high as possible. That's fine. We want all the work to be happening from the hamstrings and the glutes and the other hip extensors. For right now, we're gonna keep that knee nice and bent, and we're just keeping those abs tight, lifting up an extension. Now I want you to hold that extension and see if we can get a little bit more space. As we get a little more space, you might get too much in the low back, tighten the abs. Get more space in the leg, tighten the abs. Get more space in the leg, tighten the abs. Come back down when you need a rest. You're gonna be surprised how sore and painful this can be, but it'll get better. So again, we go back up, try to get some extension, keep the abs tight. Try to get more extension, keep the abs tight. So not so much reps here, but kind of holding it up and just trying to get more and more space as we can. Our hamstrings might be lit up already. Let's put that leg down, shake it out. Even your wrists might be a little bit tired here. So we're gonna move over to the other leg. Lift that knee up off the ground just a little bit. The right hand can come outside the right knee. We don't need to worry about being perfectly aligned. We want it to be as stable as possible. So we're gonna lift that leg straight back, extension. So that those toes are still facing, the ground at first and then behind you as you lift the leg. Keeping those abs tight, lift the leg. Now let's try to keep it up there and just get more space. So come down for a rest when we need, come back up, squeeze the abs, try to get more extension in the glute. When we do that, we might lose a little bit in the abs, get those abs tight again, a little bit more room in the glute and the hamstrings, back down and rest. Let's go one more, up. Again, keeping those abs tight, trying to get all that movement happening from the hip, not the low back. Good. Take a little breather. Shake it out if you need to. Go into a downward facing dog to lengthen those hamstrings. And then let's come back down in the quadruped. Now we're going to do, from this position, abduction. So our hips already kind of flexed. Well, it is flexed. And we're going to go into this abduction straight out to the side. We want a lot of that abduction to come from the right hip or whatever leg you're working with right now, rather than rotating from your trunk. Now that's going to happen a little bit, it's inevitable, but try to get it all from the hip as much as possible. See how high we can get that leg up, keeping that knee bent. And after a few reps, let's hold it and see how long we can hold it, see if we can get a little more space. A little higher, good, and rest. Bring it back up. Hold it up there, try to get a little more space. Dig the other knee into the ground or into the mat. Lift the leg up. Good. So we're gonna switch sides here. Oh, we got one more rep on this side actually. Lift it up. Try to get a little bit higher. Abduction, external rotation, and good, relax. Shake out the wrists if you need to. All right, so left side abduction. So in this view, you're gonna see the opposite leg and how we're trying to get a lot of that movement from the hip joint in which the leg is going up, rather than just a complete rotation of the pelvis and the spine. Do a couple reps. Then after a couple reps, we'll hold it up there, try to get a little bit more space. Try to get a little more space, don't hold your breath. Try to get a little more space and down. And then back up. Hold it up there. Try to get a little more space. Both outsides of the hips will be working at that top point. Because the leg is abducting out, but then the leg that's down is working to stay nice and stable as well. And down, relax. Sit back into a child's pose and just kind of rest for a second. Good, back into our quadruped position. We're going to work on some really focused external and internal rotation here. So you're going to go up at about a 45-degree angle. It's not straight back, but not straight to that abduction. And we're trying to just rotate that ball and socket of the hip joint. External rotation, internal rotation. You'll notice my legs kind of high to start, and then as I get sort of fatigued, if you will, mentally, my knee starts to drop. If we can keep it up a little bit higher, do so. But really we're working on that external, internal rotation of the hip. You'll see in the video how much I get that. So 3 or 4 on each side there. Put that leg down. Let's move over to the next leg. External, internal rotation. So I kind of get into the low back there a little more than I'd like to, but that's okay. Internal rotation, external rotation. Try to get it just from the hip. Good, and down. Did a lot more on that side, huh? All right, sit back into a child's pose and also bring your arms by your sides, your hands by your feet. It'll give your shoulders a little bit of a rest. All right, back into our quadruped position. We're almost done here. So now we're gonna go straight back into that extension, but straighten the leg. And this is when the hamstrings can start to get lit up. So drop the foot down, raise it back up. And again, we're trying to only get extension in the hip and not so much from the low back. So it's a small movement, but at that top part, you should feel your hamstring pretty tense. And our foot should be not flexed. So in other words, the toes are pulling towards our face rather than being pointed. And on the last set, keep it up there for a few seconds and then bring it back down into our quadruped position. We'll go to the other leg. Reach it up and back, straight leg, toes point towards your face. That'll get the calf and the hamstring involved. You drop the foot down, lift it up. Again, trying to focus the movement in the hip joint. So our glute, our butt muscle, and our hamstrings doing a lot of the work, not our low back. Good. And you'll know even just a few reps can really light stuff on fire here. And if after this you want to go one more round of each of them, I would recommend that if you can. Otherwise, if this is your first time, this may be good and come back to this in a day or so. Good, so come into that quadruped position and into a downward facing dog. Stretch out those hamstrings. Bend the knees. Back into downward facing dog, just playing with some things to get comfortable. Let's go into a pigeon stretch here. So we were working the external rotators during all that, so they could have gotten gunked up a little bit. So now we're going to stretch them out. Just nice and light. Single pigeon, staying up tall, maybe rocking back and forth nice and slightly. Good, let's switch legs. Other side, pigeon. Small rocks back and forth. Making sure we're breathing. Almost done here. Good, straighten the legs back out. Lie down. If you can, grab your feet behind you as seen and get a little bit of a quad stretch there. And then if you can, even more advanced, press your feet into your hands and you're gonna lift your chest and your thighs up off the ground and get a real good hip flexor quad stretch while also opening up the chest and doing a mini back bend. This is one of my favorite yoga poses, locust. And release to the ground, lie down and just relax for a few seconds. Great work. Namaste.